I introduce our filmmaker today, I wanted to go through the land acknowledgement for CU Boulder. We invite you to take a moment to reflect on your relationship to this land of Boulder and relationship to local indigenous communities as we are guided by the university's land acknowledgement. The University of Colorado Boulder honors and recognizes the many contributions of indigenous peoples in our state and in stewardship to land before the establishment of the state into this present moment. CU Boulder humbly acknowledges that it is located on the traditional and current homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and many other Native nations and communities. The violent forced removal of Native people from these territories has caused devastating and lasting impacts. These histories have brought us to the present moment wherein the University of Colorado Boulder is determined to commit to improving and enhancing relationships with indigenous communities and issues locally and globally. We will do this by recognizing and amplifying the voices of indigenous CU Boulder students, staff, and faculty, educating, conducting research, and supporting student success, and lastly, consulting, engaging, and working collaboratively with Native communities. And Patricia is going to share a few links in the chat if you'd like to continue your education on this topic. And now I will pass it over to Patricia.
Thank you, Marisha. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Dr. Patricia Gonzalez, she, her, ella, and I am the Assistant Dean for the Office of Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion in the College of Arts and Sciences here at CU Boulder. And we are honored to host this event with Gabby, who is the director of the film, but also someone who is dedicated to the many works of amplifying communities who have not been historically represented in the work that we're learning. And so we thank you all for being here today. Some of you may have some knowledge about the community, or maybe this is your first time hearing more about the work that Gabby has brought to us today, but also the work of this community and how it's going to inspire us to hopefully do more afterwards. As you continue to be with us today, just want to remind us of that the Merenda, located in Yucatan Peninsula, boasts a rich tapestry of biodiversity and cultural heritage, with Melipponas, or indigenous stingless bees, playing a central role in the Mayan traditions and ecosystem dynamics. This film explores the cultural significance of Melipponas within indigenous communities, including traditional knowledge, rituals, and practices associated with beekeeping and the importance of keeping them going. And it reminds me of how in Old Maine, there was a ton of bees found, but it has nothing to do with what we see here in this country. So Gabby's going to dive deeper into some of the historical communities and the beekeeping practices that they have been continuing as they continue to keep their practices alive and going for the next generations of beekeepers. And so today's short film will last about 9 minutes, and we want to make sure that everyone sticks around because we're going to have an opportunity for everyone to participate in asking questions to our film director and CU Boulder proud alum, Gabby Mejia. And so before we introduce Gabby, just want to remind everyone, Marisha mentioned that we'll use the chat as a way to interact, but we also invite you to use emojis or any way in which you want to engage. You're welcome to send your questions to Marisha or I, as well as your comments, and or to just include them in the chat. We'll be keeping track of those questions. And with that, we want to welcome Gabby. But before that, Marisha, if you can introduce her.
Gabby Mejia, 24, is a passionate filmmaker who recently graduated valedictorian from CU Boulder with a BA in ethnic studies and a BFA in film and a minor in multicultural leadership. Her documentary, Remembering Los Seis de Boulder, earned her magna cum laude honors, and we will be screening that documentary in November. We'll share that information with you all a little bit later. Her films aim to foster dialogue and understanding, reflecting her surroundings and highlighting diverse experiences. Gabriela is dedicated to promoting diversity and inclusion both in front of and behind the camera, consistently casting women of color as leads and collaborating with female-led crews. As a member of CU Boulder's inaugural Social Justice Scholars, she remains committed to advancing equity and justice. Notable accolades include winning the Grillo Award for the film It's Just Us and her latest documentary La Gente, following her return from Mérida, Yucatan. Welcome, Gabby.
Hi, I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the office for having me and for giving me this platform. I might know some of you, like some professors and people I've worked with before, and I'm happy to introduce you to this community that's very important to me. So, this film is a film of love, and I feel like you'll be able to see that. I was able to connect to Mayan beekeepers, and hopefully you enjoy this film and have some questions at the end. So I'm going to start. And let me know if you could hear everything.
Should there be sound right now, Gabby? Because I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, you're not.
Yeah. Did you check the share sound when you shared your screen?
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries. Don't worry about it. We'll help you troubleshoot.
Okay.
If you just stop sharing, Gabby, and then reshare, and maybe share the output
Okay.
and the sound, yeah, that should hopefully help.
Okay. And then I'm going to reshare.
Thank you.
You guys hear it now?
No, no sound, Gabby.
Melipponas voy allí
Oh,
y a veces les meto la mano, me gusta que suban, y platico con ellas, es como que raro, ¿no? Que digas, pero a veces suben, les hablas y todo lo demás. Y me gusta mucho, me gusta escuchar el sonido que ellos hacen, más en las noches cuando uno viene a dar la vuelta, escuchas el sonido como si fuesen carritos de carrera que empiezan y vienen. Pues, mi nombre es María Anselma Pérez. Tengo 38 años. Pues, vivo en la comisaría de Soyachiché. He tenido casi 14 años en lo que viene siendo el manejo de la melipona y me gusta mucho. Sabemos maya, hablo maya y pues tratamos de que esa raíz no se nos pierda.
Nuestras abejas meliponas son parte sagrada, fundamental para nuestra cultura maya, ya que ellos las contemplaban y las seguimos contemplando como algo sagrado, ya que formaba parte de pues del entorno en su tiempo, ¿no? De ellos, algo fundamental, algo sagrado.
De hecho, actualmente igual hay una imagen de una diosa maya con la imagen de la abeja melipona. Es nueva la imagen que se salió de Uxmal. En Uxmal está en el códice, igual está.
Hay ceremonias que se hacen antes de como que de establecer un meliponario, ¿no? Como para pedir pues a la lluvia, al dios de la lluvia, al dios de la tierra, pues pues, buena floración, buena vegetación, que cuiden a las melipponas.
Es como rendirles culto a las colmenas. De hecho, eso nosotros lo hacemos. Bueno, en mí, en lo personal, sí lo hago, ¿no? Después de cada cosecha, alimentamos lo que viene siendo el culto, de lo que viene siendo los dioses de las abejas, el dios de la tierra, el dios del aire. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué lo hacemos? Porque hay hormigas, hay insectos, hay pájaros que tragan. Entonces, si nosotros alimentamos lo que viene siendo el Dios que nos cuida, de lo que viene siendo la colmena, la cosecha y todo, aleja todo el pájaro, aleja las hormigas y no se le va a entrar hormigas, cruzan los hormigones de largo y se van, y se van.
Soy agricólogo, estoy encargado del melipponario del área de reforestación de Mapsa. Tengo 6 años aproximadamente trabajando aquí en la empresa, la reforestación, y 5 años con las abejas, en el manejo de abejas de Melippona biche, conservando nuestras especies de abejas melipponas, ya que están siendo muy amenazadas a base de la deforestación. ¿Qué hacemos nosotros? Trata de seguir aumentando y conservando esas abejas nativas.
Hay mucha destrucción, hay muchas plantas que se están acabando.
En el caso de nuestra principal función de la empresa es proporcionar los materiales para hacer la construcción de la vivienda. Esos bancos de material se han hecho desde hace muchos años, pero nadie le ha dado seguimiento para poderles dar una mitigación al daño que se ha hecho. Entonces, pues definitivamente la reforestación de esas áreas es lo más correcto, lo más prudente.
La extensión de este terreno es alrededor de 220 hectáreas. Llevamos reforestadas 120 hectáreas hasta el momento.
Acabando. Entonces, con este tipo de abeja que es maya, aquí hay muchísimos árboles, porque nosotros no solamente rescatamos las melipponas, sino rescatamos hasta las plantas que ya se están perdiendo. Entonces vamos al monte y ya están destruyendo por acá, vamos a llevar un arbolito de esta para que pueda crecer de donde estamos y seguirlo conservando, para que no se pierda. Porque así algún día cuando estén creciendo los niños, este árbol se llama así, este árbol se llama así. Entonces tenemos estas especies de abejas, porque aquí tenemos melipponas, tenemos trigonas, tenemos nanotrigonas, tenemos en vida silvestre y tenemos en cajitas. Bueno, ya tenemos 22 años ahorita trabajando en la meliponicultura. De hecho, empezamos con el rescate de las abejitas porque ya todo el mundo lo estaba olvidando. Entonces, aquí vino un proyecto en el pueblo. Nos dijeron y cuando llegamos preguntamos, nos dio esa inquietud de saber de esas abejitas y todo, porque nos dijeron que son abejitas mayas, pero que se están rescatando. Entonces le platicamos a mis papás y ellos nos dijeron que sí, antiguamente pues los abuelitos tenían. Entonces por eso nos llamó la inquietud y como que nos llamó el cuidarlas a ellas, dar ese espacio para ellas en nuestra vida.
Y pues me ayudaron a recuperar la salud de uno de mis hijitos. Fue impresionante, la verdad, el impacto que ellos dieron en mi vida. Podría decir que gracias a la melippona tengo vivo uno de mis hijitos, el más pequeño. Se me enfermó así de gravedad y pues las melipponas me ayudaron a costar el medicamento que me dieron para él.
Está creciendo ya gracias a las abejas. Es algo que no me lo imaginaba, pero como dicen mis hermanas, aquí estamos, ellas nos ayudan, nosotros les ayudamos, con lo que podemos les damos lo que tenemos, nuestras fuerzas, a regar, a darles plantas. Entonces, en ese instante sí nos ha ayudado. Entonces, es algo triste, pero es algo alegre. hemos salido adelante gracias a eso. Sí.
Pues el futuro en general, pues para que tengamos futuro hay que tenerle cariño y no dejar que se pierda, ¿no? Enseñarle a otras personas lo que viene siendo el cuidado, el manejo.
Entonces es algo que debemos de cuidar y debemos de preservar, porque desde antiguamente hay jeroglíficos, hay el rey de la miel, el Amusencap, todo eso. Entonces, desde la antigüedad las tenemos a ellas. Entonces es algo hermoso que podemos decir. Hay que conservarlas, hay que seguir creciendo con ellas y hay que darlo de generación en generación para que no se pierda.
So that is the film.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabby, and thank you for again bringing this to our community here at CU Boulder. Wanted to open it up for folks to ask questions. And before I do that, I just wanted to put it back to you and ask what inspired you to do this specific film?
Yeah, so during my final semester, I was very lucky to have gotten the chance to do study abroad. And I wanted to do a place that I knew would kind of reconnect me, not only to like my culture, but also a place that I might have never explored. So I chose Merida, and it was the first time CU Boulder was doing this. And I knew that I wanted to make a film out there, but I thought I would be making a film on La Malinche, so another very important person in the development of what is now Mexico. But we go on a lot of trips out there, and we went to a different Meliponario. So like in the film, you'll see like the beehives behind them, and they're more true, like they have them in boxes or they'll have them in tree logs, the bees. And I was just learning about it and I was like, this sounds so cool. Like, how come I've never heard of this? Like, I love honey. That's one of my favorite things to like eat. I'll just grab a spoonful of it, put it in toast. Like, it's such a daily part of my life. And like sometimes we don't question where our food comes or like the production of it. And we went there for one of my agricultural classes, and it was just amazing that this person, it was another person, he talked about how he's been working for the bees, not like and with the bees for about 8 years, and how like they are becoming endangered due to the population increase in Merida where I was staying. And I thought like what he was saying was so interesting, and I'm like, there's so many films about bees out there, but like none about these communities, and it just felt like there's this dissonance. And I changed my class, my second block, to do an independent study, and I was like, I want to do this film. And luckily I had the support from my professors, and I was able to like work closely with this like majority Mayan community. And yeah, I was just able to like learn about who they are, their families, and luckily they were all so welcoming. So I couldn't obviously pay them, but reciprocity is a big thing for me. So as somebody who believes that people deserve something in return, and just because I'm taking their cultural knowledge, it feels wrong to not give anything back. I was able to like work with the families and do product pictures for them, and I'm actually still working with them. I'm doing individual like videos for each of the people that helped me with the film, so they could put it on their social medias, because they don't really have like Instagrams or like personal websites, and a lot of them make their money from the bees. So like I just it was a way of giving back for the experience. And like, yeah, it was just also a beautiful story about these people and like their culture. So yeah.
Natalie had her hand raised. Natalie?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Gabby, beautiful film. I loved it. I wanted to let you guys know that the chat is disabled and the Q&A is disabled just in case, because I see the Mauricia, you have the message in the chat that we can throw in, and I wanted to leave some comments, but I figure, okay, I'll just raise my hand and tell Gabby how great this is. I didn't realize that we had a study abroad program there in Merida, and it was really great to just hear these people's stories. And it really sounds like, you know, what you're capturing here is the kind of like loss that comes with colonialism, urbanization, this kind of encroachment, and the move for these people to reassert and restore their boundaries around this tradition. And so it was really lovely. I appreciate you doing this work. Great job, Gabby.
Thank you, Dr. Avalos. Yeah, it's important for my film work just to give platforms to people I know that sometimes are not like don't have access to it. Or yeah, like have access to getting their voices out. So for me, it's like always something fun because I get to learn while I like make these things. So yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Natalie, for letting us know that the chat doesn't work. Can someone let us know if it works now? It may be you, Natalie.
Yes,
It works
yes,
now?
yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, inviting folks to ask their questions. And as we continue to invite those questions in, Gabby, I was wondering about, you mentioned the community and involving yourself afterwards, which is so beautiful. As you were creating the work that you were doing during this film, I'm curious about what themes arise for you as you think about the stories and the themes or the themes. What were the most important for you to convey based on the stories that you heard from the people?
I think one of the most important ones that I really wanted to convey was like the idea, I don't know. So it's that they're there. They're actively working in community to keep this tradition alive, and they're working with like or trying to get outreach. I think that was one of the main things I wanted to focus on in the end of it. Just because there's a lot of narratives, especially in documentary work, working with indigenous like Mayan communities, that like the Mayans have disappeared and like thousands of years ago, which is a very colonized point of view. And it's often still part of a lot of film narratives being made today. And I wanted to kind of touch on the fact that they've never disappeared. It's just that like they've been kind of in a sense pushed out. So like the population increase is talking about like majority expats. So like I wouldn't say fortunate to talk to different expats, but I was exposed to different ones, and like there was a lack of respect for the spaces they were in and the people surrounding them and the people who've already lived there. And originally I wanted to do like a bigger film talking about also not only like the people outside of the cities but inside, just because like there was a lot of disrespect from the expats, which is kind of weird because they applied to move there and yet they're being very ignorant to the place they're in. So I just wanted to like make it really clear that they've always been there and they've continued despite like colonization and like neo-colonization. In fact, you know, like those different things are still there, but they're still alive and they're still working towards a future where their bees and their plants are a part of that landscape.
Thank you, Gabby. We have a question from Dr. Ho. Great job, Gabby. I'm wondering about what got left out of the film because I'm sure there was a lot of footage that you have. And I appreciate the concision of the film, but I did think there may have been other elements that if you had more time and money that you would want to have included.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the things I wish I could have spoke more about if I did have the resources is like more of the medicinal properties of the honey, because that's such a big part of like the beekeeping there. So like in the first few texts that you see on screen, it says that like the honey has medicinal effects, and in some cases it cures glaucoma. But it's also known as a virgin honey. So like they don't need what European bees do. So like a lot of the European beekeepers, which they also have in Mexico and Merida, they need sugar, like sugar water to make the honey. But these bees in Melipponas beachy, they don't need that. So like they just get their pollen from the indigenous plants around them and they'll produce the honey. So they don't need any assistance with that. And it really helps. So like a lot of these people, they make it's kind of like a cough syrup, but it helps with like chest congestions and like more of the history on the bees. Like if I had the money, I would love to use like animations, because I went to a lot of anthropology museums during my time there, and their animations were in line with the codex. So like they wouldn't do modern animations, but like with Mayan animations, I would have loved to have that, and them showing about like how the women are also the majority of the beekeepers, like because the traditional way on beekeeping is putting them in logs, tree logs, but it replicates a pregnant woman. So like adding more of the cultural and like more traditional ties to it, I would have really loved. But yeah, so it was just like me, my camera, and my teacher, who's the producer on the film, that like, yeah, so she drove me and I had to buy a tripod and a mic while I was out there. So like, and I had my camera. So that was the whole setup. So yeah. But yeah, if I had the money, I would have loved to have those animations and talk more about like the honey and like more of the traditional work on it. So yeah.
Well, I'll say that Dr. Ho wants to share more love and said, I hope you can apply for grant money because I would love to learn more about the medicinal purposes of the honey and see animation and maybe music and sound added too. It's a great topic. And so if anyone knows of any grants, please send them to Gabby to explore. I know with graduation celebrations this year and her figuring out what's next in her own journey, which we would love to learn more about. If you want to share, Gabby, this is something that aligns with her vision of what the future can look like for her. And then Natalie said, I would too. What a great story to unpack and share. And Lindsay also says, great job. Is there a place we can find all of your work?
Yeah, so thank you for the feedback. And yeah, I'll ditto if like y'all know any grants, because if I could, I would love to make this into a bigger thing and actually get to pay these people what they deserve. But what's next is graduate school. I'm still continuing with film. I think there's a lot of gaps within film that I could definitely help patch up and fix, especially on representation and as a storyteller who goes to different places and always wants to learn and hear from communities that are often pushed aside, forgotten, and or neglected. But yeah, so graduate school is next, film school, and yeah, we're gonna keep, even if I don't get into them, I'm going to still continue making films within the communities that I hold dear to my heart. Was there another part of the question? I'm so sorry.
Is
Yeah.
there a place where people can find all of your work?
Yes, so right now La Gente is unreleased at the moment because it is going through the festival circuit right now. But I do have a YouTube. I could send the link. It has a lot of my films. It also has Remembering Los Seis. It has a lot of experimental films. And I'm also re-releasing my BFA film, El Mundo, about a paletero in North Denver dealing with generational grief and reconnecting to his community. So that will also be out soon. It is being animated at the moment, so it might take a minute. And also you guys could come to my other presentations November 5th and 8th around election time. So make sure you guys vote. Every vote matters. And I'll be showing both of those films, and it's also going to be like a community event.
Go ahead, Natalie. We see your hand.
So I just wanted to ask, because this question's actually for Jennifer Ho. She's the director of CHA. I'm wondering, would Gabby be eligible for a CHA grant at this point? Because I know she's no longer technically a student, but she is applying. Are you applying for the grad program at CU Boulder or somewhere else, Gabby?
I'm applying out of state, but I'm always open to staying in state, especially if it's paid for. Because yeah, I am a student that will go where the money takes me, unfortunately, because I can't pay for it myself. But yeah, I think I might apply to the ethnic studies department, not so much the film department with my own personal experiences within that department. But yeah.
Good to know. We're wishing you much success in your applications, Gabby.
And just to add, Dr. Ho has said, sadly, no, it's only faculty grant, but Dr. Ho would like to stay connected and chat with you, Gabby, about potential resources that you can consider as you continue this conversation. And I wanted to also note that someone in the chat had put, if you can add that link of your YouTube channel in the chat so that they can reference that as well.
Yeah, I'll put it in there now. Yeah, so as a filmmaker, a lot of my stuff was me in the beginning of my process and kind of centers around how I viewed myself. So it's always, you just grow as a filmmaker, and you could definitely see that within the films I've made, but I will always share them. And then there we go. Okay. And then I'm putting it in the chat now. So yeah, that's a lot of experimental work as well, because CU's film department is experimental heavy. So hopefully you guys do enjoy it. If you always have comments or questions, you could reach out. But yeah, so hopefully there'll be another short film out by the end of the year. I try to make multiple films a year on a $0 budget. So
Well, thank you, Gabby. And as we close out, just want to ask this question, and feel free, anyone who wants to add last minute questions to Gabby or comments, but what legacy do you hope this film leaves and all the work that you have done with the other films for future generations, both within indigenous communities and among broader audiences?
for me, the purpose of film, I think, is always changing, but at its core, it's to bring conversation to different topics. I think I learned that my junior year because I had a teacher who, not in a good way of influencing me, but made me question why, like, the difference between a debate and a conversation. And I feel like at conversations, we're able to be more open to suggestions and different ideas. And I always want people to question, like, why haven't I ever heard of this before? And kind of like do like their own research or reflections in those questionings. I think conversations can help people kind of find this middle ground, in the sense that like we all come from different aspects of life, but there are some things that we all hold true. And for me, it's learning. Like, I hope to be a lifelong learner no matter my age, and I want other people to feel like, okay, there's some unsaid things within the film, so like I want to like do my own research. I want to question, why haven't I heard of this, like, or question the system, like whether it's like mass food, or like mass farming, like how do we get our food, or like why am I so disconnected to how honey's made, you know? Like when I was there, I was in one of the clips, you'll see them take the honey right from the hive, and they just gave it to me. Like they just like allowed me to taste it. And like I was able to, yeah, I think questioning is like one of my favorite things. Questioning systemic powers or questioning my mom, you know, I'll question everything. Yeah, I think my films, I just want like conversation. I want people to talk about them and be like, it's interesting, you know, I don't know. Yeah, just bringing and giving like voice to power for different people. I don't know if that answered it.
It does, Gabby, and just want to thank you for reflecting. Love that you're always continuing to learn. As I was watching the video, I have a sister who loves bees, and I'm always scared and running away. And I don't know if it's a wasp or a bee, but this moment really helped me reflect on how bees have played a role in my life, but I never understood the connection, right? And my older sister loves them, and she sees them similar to how the people in the film were describing the bees. And so I can't wait to tell her about your work and to continue to do my own learning as I continue to unlearn myself as well. So thank you for reflecting on the message for the community. We're going to stop the recording.